Hello and welcome to another predicted paper, exam paper walkthrough. Today I'm doing a really good paper from Maths Planner. So I've done a couple of their exams, their predicted papers over this series. You can access all their papers at www.mathsplanner.com, and they produced a really good set of paper 3 predictions. So that's the paper that I'm going to be doing today. Please feel free to check out their website. I'll put their a direct link to their paper in the chat for this video. So definitely click on the link to get a blank copy of the paper and also check out their other resources. Okay, question 1 then. So write down the value of 8 in the number 782.054. So let me get my pen on. So we'll start this paper in blue. I'll probably switch to red at some point, but we'll start off in blue. So the value of the 8 in this number is 80. You can write that. I think you could argue that you could write it in words, but I always tend to write them in numbers. Part B, write 7.5 as a fraction. So 7.5 as a fraction, 7.5% as a fraction is 7.5 over 100, and this is actually a calculator paper, so we can treat it just like that. So 7.5 out of 100. So as a fraction, that will automatically cancel it down to 3 out of 40. And then part C, write 7/10 as a decimal. So do that in my calculator. 7 divided by 10, and as a decimal, that's going to be 0.35. Okay, question 2. Write 3/5 find 3/5 of 155. So I'm treating this as. Let me get my pen sorted. Okay, so I'm going to type this in directly as it appears. 3/5 times by, well, I'm going to convert it. 3/5 times by 155, and that's how I'm going to type it in. So 3/5 times by 155, and that gives me 93. Okay, question 3. Here is a list of 5 digits. Write down a prime number from the list. So let's just make sure I've got the form. Okay, so prime number from the list. Well, 2 is a prime number, so I'm going to go for 2. Let's just double check. Are there any others? I can't spot any others. So 14 is in the multiples of 7, 3, 3, 2, 2, and 7. So 3 is my only one. Write down a square number from the list. So from the list, I've actually got a couple of square numbers. Write down a square number in the list. So I'm going to write down the first one. That tends to be my standard tactic. Although you could absolutely get away with 9. 9 is also a squared number. And then write down a cubed number. So cube number from this list, well, a cube is any number times by itself 3 times to give one of these values. And we can start low. 2 cubed is going to be 8. So 8 is going to be my cubed number. And I think that's going to be the only one, because if I had 3 cubed would be 27, which is bigger than any of the numbers. Okay, question 4. Here is an incomplete pictogram. The incomplete pictogram, shows information about 90 students travelled to school. 20 students travelled by bike. The ratio of the students who travelled by bike to walked is 2 to 3. Use the information to complete the pictogram and the key. Okay, so the way I'm going to look at this is, I know that I've got 2.5 circles and that represents 20. So 20 divided by 2.5 is going to be 8. But let's just have a look. 20 divided by 2.5. And again, I've missed off my division sign. There we go, is 8. That tells me the key, one full circle, is going to represent 8 students. Right. So next stage that I'm going to look at is, if we've had 20 students so far, then that leaves us with 90 minus 20. That leaves us with 70 students that we need to represent. So if we're splitting those in the ratio of Oh, actually, I do apologise. So I've not read the question properly there. The ratio of bike to walk is 2 to 3. So bike to walk is 2 to 3. And we know that there are 20 students that bike, which tells us that there must be 30 students that walk, because we've just times by 10 here. So I need to represent that. So 30 divided by 8 is going to be equal to, and that'll tell us how many circles we need to draw. So we're looking at 3.75. So I need to do 3 3/4. So there's 1, there's 2, and then I'm gonna call that 3/4. And then so far, then that means that we've accounted for 50 students. So we've got 40 left. So let's do 90 minus 50 is equal to 40. So we've got 40 students that travel by car. So 40 divided by 8 is going to be equal to 5. So I need to draw 5 circles to represent the car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my last one's dropped off. 5. There we go. Okay, question 5. A recipe to make a large batch of cookies requires 400 grams of sugar and 1.2 kilograms of flour. Write the ratio of flour to the ratio of sugar in the form 1 to n. So we've actually got a difference in units here. So I need to convert them to both being in the same unit. So I'm going to call that 1,200 grams. So my ratio is going to start in the form 400 to 1,200. So divide both sides by 4. Divide both sides by 400. So that's going to be 1 to 3. And I've written my ratio the wrong way around. So that I've written the ratio of sugar to flour. So let's do it as flour to sugar. So flour to sugar. And I should have, so in the form 1 to n, it's going to be 1 to 1/3. Okay, question 6. Sam has 18 bottles of prime hydrate. Very topical. So each bottle holds 500 milliliters. He sells 2/3 of his bottles. Work out how many liters of prime hydrate Sam keeps for himself. How many liters? Okay, so if he sells 2/3 of them, let's go for it straight away. So sells. So if we go sells and keeps. So if he sells 2/3 of them, that means that he would keep 1/3. So the ratio is 2 to 1. So if he has 18 bottles, 18 divided by 3 is going to be 6. So he would sell 12 and he would keep 6. And each bottle holds 500 milliliters. So if I do how many liters, so each bottle holds 0.5 of a liter, so 6 times by 0.5 is going to give me 3. So he would keep 3 liters. Sam pays £2.99 for each bottle and sells each bottle for £6. Calculate the profits Sam made. Well, if he sold, so he bought, so if I do £2.99 times by 18, the number of bottles he sold, so that's going to give me the total money that he spent. So he spent £53.82. If he sold 12 of the bottles for £6 each, then 12 times by 6, so he made £72. So if we do percentage profit, so the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to end up with a number bigger than, calculate the profit that Sam made. It doesn't say that calculate the percentage profit, just the profit that he made. So I'm going to do 72 minus £53 and 80. I can't quite remember whether that was a 2 or a 7. I've written it very badly either way. So let's clear that up. So 53 times by £2.99. That should have been that should have been 18. So it was a 2. So the amount that he made then is going to be 72 minus the answer, £18.88. Sorry, £18.18. So £18.18 is the amount of profit that he made. Okay, here are the ages of 20 people in a town. Show this information in an ordered stem and leaf diagram. So I'm looking to order this stem and leaf diagram. Let's see. I'm going to attempt to do it straight into an ordered stem and leaf diagram. So my method, there's nothing wrong with drawing an unordered one and then ordering it afterwards. If you feel happy to do this as a shortcut, then it can save a bit of time. So my smallest value then is in the 20s and my largest value is in the 50s. So my stems are going to go 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then if I'm trying to do it this way, I would tend to underline all of my values that start with a 2. So that's all my values. Then I'm going to put these in size order. So 1 is the smallest. I've then got a 2 and a 4. I've then got a 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's all my 20 values, or values that start with 20. Then if I do the same for my 3s, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values. So my smallest is 30. My next smallest one is then 31. I've got a 32 as well. Only one 32. Then I've got a 33. I've then got I didn't really need the comma there. I've then got 35. I've then got a 36 and a 38. So I've put my 3, that should have been a 5. Looks like a 3 though. Here we go. So that's all my 30 values. And then I'm going to look at my 40 values. So again, underline all my values starting with 40 and then look at putting them in size order. So my smallest one there is 40. My next smallest one then is 42. I've then got a 43, 44 and a 45. Okay, and then my final one is 52, so that's my ordered stem and leaf diagram. I still need to include a key though, so my key, I always tend to use my smallest, my first value, so 2/1 is equal to people in, is equal to 21 age, I think that is. So work out the fraction of people that are older than 30. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people are older than 30. So 12 out of 20, which is going to be equal to 3 out of 5. Okay, question 8. Laura runs a small bakery in her town. Last year she sold 850 pastries in the month of December. This year she manages to sell 1,020 pastries in the same month. Calculate the percentage increase in the number of pastries sold. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to work out the percentage with the increase. So I'm going to have 100 and something. So I'm going to treat it as 1020 divided by 850, and then I'm going to times that by 100, and that'll give me the percentage in terms of 100 and something, and the something will be my percentage increase. So 1020 divided by 850 times by 100 gives me the value of 120%. So the percentage increase is 20%. Okay, question 9. The table shows the number of cars passing through the toll booth in a day categorized by their color. Draw an accurate pie chart to show this data. Okay, so I'm going to struggle doing this on my PDF, so I will explain how I'll draw my pie chart when we get to that point. I'm going to first of all work out my angle sizes. So I need the total frequency. Total frequency is 200. So each angle is going to be worth 300. Sorry, each frequency is going to be worth 360 divided by 200 degrees. So 360 divided by 200, I think it's going to give me 18. It's not. It's going to give me 1.8. So each frequency is going to be worth 1.8 degrees. So I'm going to times all of these by 80. So I'm going to type that in as 1.8 times by 80 first of all. So my angle size is going to be 100. Okay, so I've made a tiny mistake here. This should have been 300. Hope you spotted that. Spotted my deliberate error there. So 360 divided by 300 should have been 1.2. So each frequency is going to be worth 1.2. So 1.2 times by 80 is going to be equal to 96 as an angle. So now I want to times by 120. That's going to be 144 degrees. And then 100 times by is going to be 120. We can double check that they add up to 360, which they do. Okay, so now I'm going to cut and paste this into, I just want the table and my space to draw it. So hopefully this will work fine. Okay, so the way that we will need to do this is on my protractor, not my ruler. So I'm going to place my protractor on the center of my angle, and I'm going to start by measuring 96 degrees. So that's 90, that's 100, so 96 is going to be roughly there. Right, sorry, I'm going to just change what I'm doing here. So I'm going to make this so that the circumference of my protractor is the same as the circumference of the pie chart, just because of the way that this actually marks it. Okay, so I want to measure 96 degrees, so I'd forgotten, so that's 90, so 96 is going to take me up to there. And I've got a white pen on, which is definitely not helping. So let me just try that one more time. So let's go for finish line, and we'll do our first section in red, just to represent red. So I want 96 again. So there's 90. So there's my 96 degree angle. I then want to do 144 in blue. I've made that line far too thick, so we'll switch for blue. So I want to do 144 this time. So measure 144 degrees, and then that's my blue section. Then instead of white, I'll do grey. So that should be 120 if I've drawn it accurately. So let's measure it, see what's making it. So we're out by a couple of degrees, but nothing major. So then I want to switch to my ruler, and then I want straight lines going through the centre of the protractor, well, centre of the pie chart, sorry. So I'll do this one in red. I'll do my next one in blue. So there we go. I didn't change colour, but that's fine. So that is my red section, that is my blue section, and that is my white section. Okay, so there we go. Right, I'll just put done on snip. Okay, question 10. So James has two lengths of wire. One is 160 centimeters long and the other is 840 centimeters long. He wants to cut both lengths of wire into smaller pieces of equal length without having any wire left over. What is the greatest length of an individual piece of wire that James can cut? So we're preparing for a calculator paper here. If we were preparing for paper one, I'd show you a different method for this. What I'm actually wanting is the highest common factor of these two numbers. And so I want the highest common factor of 360 and 840. And on a calculator paper, we can do this in quite a straightforward way. We can just put them as a fraction and then see what the calculator cancels it down by. So if I do 360 over 840, then that automatically cancels it down to 3/7. So what it's cancelled the fraction down by is that it's divided by 120. So that means that the highest common factor is 120. So nice quick version of doing that without doing prime factors. Okay, question 11. Work out the value of ABC, so I'm actually after this angle here. Giving full reasons for each stage of your working. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying BCA is going to be equal to 180 minus 103. So that's going to be equal to 77. And then I tend to write my reasons next to. So I do my working and then I state my reasons. So the reason for that is angles on a straight line equal 180 degrees. And then I'm going to say that these are two base angles of an isosceles triangle. So ABC is going to be equal to 180 minus 2 lots of 77. So that's going to be equal to 180 minus 2 times by 77. Put one too many 0 there. So 26 degrees. And my reason is base angles of an isosceles triangle are equal. So I'm going to go 26. 3 marks. If it was 4 marks and I was after trying to find an extra mark, I might have said that angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees, but I think that's kind of a given if we know that the base angles of an isosceles triangle are equal. Okay, question 12. There are a total of 240 students in Year 10 and Year 11. The number of Year 10 students is twice the number of Year 11 students. The number of boys in Year 10 is 3 times the number of girls in Year 10, and in Year 11, the number of girls is 10 more than the number of boys. Okay, so let's start putting some of this information in. So we know that there are 240 students in Year 10 and in Year 11. Number of year 10 students is twice the number of year 11 students. So if I divide 240 by 3, that splits it into the 3 parts that we're after. So that means that there are 80 in year 11 and 160 in year 10. The number of boys in year 10 is 3 times the number of girls in year 11. So if we divide that by 4, sorry. So that means that there would be so I've gone slightly wrong there. So the number of boys in year 10 is 3 times the number of girls in year 10. So yeah. So if we take the number of students in year 10 and divide that by 4, then that means there are 40 girls and 120 boys. Okay, in year 11, the number of girls is 10 more than the number of boys. So if we call, in effect, this would be x, and then this would be x plus 10. So if we do 70 divided by 2, or let's show it this way, 80 minus the 10 is going to be 70 divided by 2. So there are 35 boys, and then 10 more girls, so 45 girls. And then our totals, so we should have 155 here, and then we can do this 2 ways. So we could say that those two add up to 85, and we can also say that 240 minus 155 is also 85. So there we go, checked it 2 ways, so good indicator that we are correct with our 2-way table. Right, part B, a year 10 student is selected at random. So a year 10 student, so our denominator is going to be 160. Write down the probability that they are a girl in its simplest form. So we've got 40, so we could almost do that from the information that we were given here. So year 10 students, year 10, 3 times as many, so 3, well, you can kind of see for yourself, so that's 1/4, but then that also tidies up to 1/4. Okay, question 13. So diagram's not drawn to scale. Calculate the bearing of A from B. So A from B, so really we want this angle here. Right, so we're told that this is 110, so this angle here would also be 100. Actually, we don't even need to do that. So angles along a straight line need to add up to 180. So 180 minus 110. Actually, so now let me change tact with this. So we don't want that angle. We want the angle that's shown. So we want this angle here. So angle B is going to be equal to 110. So this angle here would be 110. So 360 minus 110 is going to be equal to 250 degrees. So we're looking at 250 as our bearing. Okay, question 14. Given angles C, D, and E are in the ratio 3 to 6 to 7, calculate the size of each of the missing angles. Okay, so let's do it this way. So let's say, so C to D to E is 3 to 6 to 7. So we've got a total of 16 parts. Right, angles in angle sum of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-sided shape are going to be equal to 360 times by 4, or number of sides minus 2. So 360 times by 4 is going to be equal to 1,440. So the angles that we know of are going to be minus 90 plus 110 plus 120. So that's going to be 200, 320. So we'll do that there. So 90 plus 110 plus 120. So that's going to be equal to 1,000. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could see that I'd made a mistake. It took me a while to spot what mistake I'd made there. That's 180 times by 4, not 360 times by 4. Let's try that again. So that's going to be 720. So if we go back and do this, just way too big. So 720 minus that would give me 400. That sounds more like it. So I've not set that out very well, actually. Okay, so I want to split that between 16 parts. So if I do 400 divided by 16, it's going to give me 25. So I need to multiply each of these by 25. So 3 times by 25 is going to be 75. 6 times by 25 is going to be 150. And then 7 times by 25 is going to be 175. So we've got 75 to 150 to 175. Right, I'm not happy with my 0.5 there. Okay, question 15. Calculate the angle Y, giving your answer correct to 1 decimal place. So we've got a difference of units here, so I'm going to convert that to 30 centimeters. And then we've got this side being the hypotenuse and this side being the opposite. We're using trigonometry because we're dealing with 2 sides and an angle. So the trig ratio I'm after is sine O opposite over the hypotenuse, and then if I rearrange that to find the, I'm not rearranging, I'm finding the angle. So the angle Y is going to be equal to sine to the minus 1 of the opposite, which is 30, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 52. So if I type that into my calculator, then shift sign, and I'm going for, I'll type it in as a fraction, so 30 over 52. Close my brackets up, and that gives me 35 point, so we'll go, so Y is equal to 35.2344 ... Sure, I haven't rounded, so to 1 decimal place, that's going to be 35.2. Okay, question 16. Complete the table of values for Y is equal to x squared plus x minus 6. So I'm going to use the table function on my calculator. So I've got a function of x, which is another way of sort of writing Y is equal to. So I need to write the function in, or the equation in. So alpha x squared plus x, so plus alpha x minus 6. And I want my table, I don't need the second function, I want my table to start at minus 3. and I want it to go up to 3, and I want it to go in steps of 1, so that will give me my values. Check with the ones that are from the table. So when -1, I should have -6, so that's correct. And then when y is 3, I should have 6, so that is correct. So good indicator that my equation has been typed in right. So my values then, when x was -3, I had 0, -4, -6 again, -4, 0, and 6. So that's my table of values. On the grid, draw the graph from the values -3 to 3. So I need to plot those points. So -3, 0 was the first point. Then I've got -3, -4. Then I've got -1, -6. 0, -6. 1, -4. 2, 0, and then finally 3, 6. And then drawing them up with as smooth a curve as I can, so trying to keep my wrist on the inside of the curve, and with a sharp pencil will often help with this. Don't have those luxuries on a computer screen, so I'll do it best as I can, so as smooth a curve as I can. So okay, so that's well, you get the idea. Yours will obviously be a lot smoother than mine, hopefully. So part C. Okay, use your graph to estimate the coordinates of the turning point. So the turning point literally means turning. So when it goes from sort of a negative gradient into a positive gradient, it's going to be slap bang in the middle of between these 2 points. So we're looking at that coordinate there. So if I was to describe that, the x value is going to be directly in between -1 and 0, so it's going to be -0.5, and then the y value is looking like -2, -6 point sort of 3 on mine, 6.2, 6.3. So I'm going to go -0.5, and let's go -6.3. Use your graph to estimate the solution of x squared plus x minus 6. So our graph was of y is equal to x squared plus x minus 6. So in effect, if we kind of combine this, we're left with y is equal to 0. So if we look at the line, y is equal to 0, and I'll change pen colour for this. That's going to be this horizontal line here. And we know these two values from our table, actually. So those y is equal to 0 when x is equal to -3, or when x is equal to 2. Okay, question 17. Enlarge triangle A by a scale factor of 3 with a centre of 1, 1. Label your new triangle, triangle B. So I'm going to start by looking at that coordinate there. Currently that is 3 squares above, so actually that's 3 is 1.5, but I'm going to call it 3 squares above the point 1, 1. So if I'm enlarging it by a scale factor of 3, that's going to become 9 squares above, so 3, 6, 9, so that's going to move to there. And then realistically, I'm looking for a triangle 3 times as big, so instead of being 3 across, so let me change pen colours. So that coordinate there is 3 squares to the right and 2 squares up, so it would go 9 squares across, so 3, 6, 9, and 6 squares up, 2, 4, 6, so that point would move to there. And then my final point, if I look at that point there, and actually we'll go from the point of enlargement because it just is easier. So instead of being 3 squares across, it's going to be 9 squares across. So that point would move to there. And then all I need to do is join them up with a straight line. So I've not got the use of a ruler, unfortunately, on PDF. yours you will have. That's going to be my enlargement, provided I join them up with a straight line. Okay, question 18. The supermarket has two brands of laundry detergent on sale, brand A, brand B. Brand A has a special offer of a 15% discount. If a family typically uses 3 litres of laundry detergent per week, how much liquid would they save in 4 weeks by choosing the cheaper option? So in effect, realistically, we want 12 litres. Let me just actually show what I've done there. 3 litres of laundry detergent per week. So we're doing 3 times by 4, which gives us 12. So we need 12 litres. So brand A has a special offer of 15% discount. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to say then I'm going to get 1,000 or 1.5 litres for the price of 3.8. And then I want to times that by 0.75. No, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong discount. So let's go back to the other one. So I've got 1.5 litres for £3.80, and that is brand A. It's brand B that's got the discount on. So brand B, I can get 2 litres for £5.50, but then I've got to apply a 15% discount. So if I times that by 0.85, then I get 2 litres for the price of 5.5. Wrong mode. 5.5 multiplied by 0.85. So I'd get that for £4.25. I've messed up the decimal point there. 5.5 times by 0.85. There we go. So £4.64.675. Okay, so I want to work out the price of 12 litres. So if I wanted to get from there to 12 litres, so let's do this one first of all. So I want 12 litres of them both. This one is times it by 6. Just means that I don't have to retype that number into my calculator. So if I times that by 6, so I'm going to get the price for 4 weeks is going to be £28.05 for brand B, and brand A is going to be equal to 12 divided by 1.5, which I think is going to be 8. So times by 8 there. If I times by 8 on the other side, so times by 3.8 gives me that one costing £30.40 or 0.4. So how much could they save in 4 weeks by choosing the cheaper option? So I'm doing 30.4 minus 28.05, and that's going to give me minus 28.05, and as a decimal, that's £2.35. So they could save £2.35 by going with the cheaper option. Okay, question 19. So a local running club organises a 5-kilometre race. The organisers group the times taken by runners in minutes as follows. Write down a modal interval of scores. So that's the one that contains the greatest frequency. So that would be 30 to 35. So 30 to 35. Okay, part B, calculate an estimate for the mean time taken for the runners to complete the race, giving your answer to 1 decimal place. Okay, so I need to take the midpoints of each group, and so 22.5, so the midpoints are going to be 22.5, 32.5, 37.5, and 42.5. And I times those by the frequencies. So that's going to be times by 15, times by 22, times by 35, times by 18, and I've made a mistake somewhere, so there we go. Lots of mistakes today. Right, so technically speaking, that's my mistake. That should have been 37.5. Then we've got 42.5 times by 18, and then we've got 40. Okay, let's try that again in terms of my mistake. So my mistake was actually all the way up here. So my midpoints are 22.5, 27.5, 32.5, 37.5, and then 42.5. So that should be right now. There we go, 50, right. And I want to add those all up. So when I add those all up, I get 22.5 times by 15 plus 27.5 times by 22 plus 32.5 times by 35 plus 37.5 times by 18 plus 42.5 times by 10. That gives me 3,180. So my mean is going to be equal to 3,180 divided by the total frequency. So the total frequency is going to be 15 plus 22 plus 35 plus 18 plus 10. That's 100, I think. Yep, divided by 100. So my mean is going to be 31.8. Okay, question 20. Write the number 2,030,800 in standard form. So I want to put a decimal somewhere between, to make it a number between 1 and 10. So 3.0308 times by 10 to there, and then I've moved it 6 places. So that's it in standard form. Two stars are at a distance approximately 1.5 times 10 to the 8 kilometers apart. Light travels at a speed of 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second. So we've got a difference of units there. How many seconds does it take for the light from one star to reach the other star? So if I want to convert kilometers into meters, I'm going to have to times by 1,000. So the sum that I want to do, time, speed, distance, time. So speed is equal to distance divided by time. So time is going to be equal to distance divided by speed. So in this case, the distance is going to be 1.5 times 10 to the 8 times by 1,000 to convert that into meters, divided by 3 times 10 to the 8. So I'm going to use my calculator to type that in. So 1.5 times 10 to the 8 times by 1,000 divided by 3 times 10 to the 8. So that's going to give me 500. And that in standard form is 5 times 10 to the 2. Okay, question 21, solve. And so to solve this, I'm going to expand the bracket. So that's going to be 15y minus 12 is equal to 19. Plus 12 on both sides. So 15y is going to be equal to 19 plus 12 is going to be 31. So y is going to be equal to 15 goes into 31 twice fully with 1 left over. So it's going to be 2 and 1 15. So rearrange to make A the subject, so I need to minus U from both sides. So V minus U is going to be equal to AT. Divide both sides by A. And then I'm left with T is equal to V minus U divided by A. And consider the following expressions. If x is equal to minus 2, calculate the value of z. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first equation. So y is going to... So y is going to be equal to 3 times by minus a half. Put the minus in brackets, plus 2. So that's going to be minus 3 over 2 over plus 4 over 2. So that would be 1 over 2. So z is going to be equal to 2. Z is going to be equal to 2 times by a half minus 5, which is going to be 1 minus 5, which would be minus 4. So z would be equal to minus 4. Okay, question 22. The diagram shows Pac-Man eating points. The circumference of a single point, so these are the points. The circumference is equal to 8 pi, so that's all the way around the outside. The radius of the Pac-Man is 4 times the radius of the single point. Work out the area of the Pac-Man. Oh, this is quite a difficult question to be on a foundation paper. So we've got area of a sector. With a non... Okay, so the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 pi r. So 8 pi is going to be equal to 2 pi times by the radius. So divide both sides by 2 pi would cancel, so 4 is equal to the radius of the point. So the radius of the Pac-Man is going to be equal to 4 times that, so 4 times 4. Radius would be equal to 4 times 4, which would be 16. So the area of a sector is going to be equal to the size of the angle divided by 360. It's kind of a fraction of a circle, times by pi r squared. So if that angle there is 72, then the exterior angle, the other angle would be 360 minus that. So I'm going to go 360 minus 73 divided by 360, and I want to multiply that by pi times by 16 squared. So on a calculator, type it in just like that, 360 minus 73 divided by 360, and I want to multiply that by pi, and then multiply that by 16 squared. So that gives me a total of 9,184 divided by 45 pi. So as a decimal, that's going to be 641.1641 ... And then to 3 significant figures, then that would be 641 centimeters squared. Okay, question 23, expand and simplify. So if we expand the double brackets first of all, so x times x gives us x squared. X times by minus 9 would give me minus 9x. 4 times x would give me plus 4x. And then 4 times minus 3 would give me minus 36 minus 5. So if I simplify then, x squared minus 9x plus 4x would be minus 5x. And then 36 minus 5 would be minus 41. So I'm looking at x squared minus 5x minus 41. Okay, work out A minus B as a column vector. So we've got 3 minus 5, and from that, so that's A. I want to minus B, which is minus 2, 5. So if I look at my x version, first of all, that's the top number. 3 minus minus 2 becomes 3 plus 2, so that would be 5. And then my bottom part, 5 minus minus 5 becomes 5. Sorry, 5 minus 5 becomes minus 10. Okay, and that brings us to the end of the paper. Really nice paper there from Maths Planner. Really enjoyed doing that. Some really challenging topics on there for foundation paper. I hope you found that useful. Please feel free to ask any questions or give me any feedback in the chat for this video. I hope you found it useful and useful in your preparation for for Wednesday's exam. So this is quite late on a Tuesday, on Monday night. So hopefully I'll get it up onto YouTube shortly and you've seen it tonight, if not tomorrow. So good luck, and please like if you subscribe if you like, even. Let's get it the right way around. Subscribe if you like. Thanks again, and I will see you soon.